The general election is right around the corner. November 5th is barreling at us like a freight train right now, and there is so much on the line. Do you love your country? If you love your kids and freedom, you love the Second Amendment, you want to leave something for those kids, you love closed borders, you don't like having the power of your vote watered down, you're going to want to watch this video because I'm going to talk about Senate District 49. Folks, I'm Chris Dorr. I'm the director for Pennsylvania Firearms Association. And in this short video, I'm going to try to keep it quick. We're going to talk about the two candidates who want to be your next state senator right there in Erie County, Senate District 49. Dan Laughlin, he's the Republican. He's being challenged by Jim Wirtz, the Democrat. And to be quite frank with you, this is one of the most important legislative elections in the entire state, simply because whichever party wins this will very likely be the party that controls the Pennsylvania Senate going forward in 2025. Currently, Republicans control the Pennsylvania Senate. Democrats control the Pennsylvania House. And of course, we have Democrat Governor Josh Shapiro in the governor's mansion. What the Democrats want to do is flip majorities so that they control all three chambers of government. And that way, only the Democrat agenda will be the agenda the state follows moving forward. And I think that's a major reason for concern for most gun owners, especially, but it's conservative issues across the board. This is a big cause for alarm. So let's jump into these candidates here real quick. I'm going to talk about Dan Laughlin. He's the incumbent. We have votes on the incumbent. That's why we start off with the incumbent, because we can say, hey, this guy has votes. Did his walk match his campaign talk? Let's jump into Dan Laughlin right now. First and foremost, I'm going to give him a great big old green check mark. Constitutional carry is a beautiful pro-gun piece of legislation. It simply gets government out of the rights regulation business, and it's on the books in 29 states already. Fantastic. He voted yes on Senate Bill 565 back in, I think, 2002. I was there. He voted yes on that. He voted yes on preemption reform. This is a big, wonderful piece of pro-gun legislation as well, because what it does is it stops these anti-gun city mayors and city councils from passing their own patchwork of gun control laws. Philly mayor, Pittsburgh mayor, these city councils, they keep trying to pass gun control that's in violation of state law. And Senate Bill 979 that Dan Laughlin passed or voted for simply said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to have one beautiful set of laws for the entire state. He voted for that. Sadly, Tom Wolf vetoed both of these. Dan Laughlin voted for Sunday hunting. A lot of gun owners and hunters are in support of that. Dan Laughlin voted for that. It's not just there, though. He didn't just vote good on all the gun rights bills. He also is opposed. We'll give him a green check mark. He's against. He never supported gun control. He never sponsored it. He never co-sponsored gun control that we can find. He didn't vote for any gun control bills that got to the Senate floor. He doesn't support red flag laws. He doesn't support universal gun registration that tracks, traces, and registers gun owners like sex offenders. Dan Laughlin here, he's opposed to that stuff. That's fantastic. Opposed the assault weapons ban. All this gun control that the radical left tries to sell to everybody and say, hey, this is just the best thing since sliced bread. But if you look at places like Chicago, there's a reason why they have all of that gun control on the books and nobody takes their families there for summer vacations. The place is a crap hole. Dan Laughlin nailed it on all these different things. I'm going to give him an A rating right there. Beautiful. Let's talk about Jim Wirtz, though, because I got to change my color here. We're going to talk about Jim Wirtz, the Democrat challenger. This guy is, we see some alarm bells here. First and foremost, this guy is Bloomberg endorsed. When you're running to represent a district like Senate District 49 in Erie County, Pennsylvania, you don't want to be endorsed by New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, the godfather of gun control in the United States. Jim Wirtz, totally endorsed by them. Endorsed by Ceasefire PA too. These people are weird. They bring a bunch of parents into the Pennsylvania Capitol building frequently to testify for gun control bills. And you look into some of the stories, a lot of these people that are up there giving these testimonies, and it turns out like their kids were involved in some like street gangs and stuff like that. So it's very, very sus. All these people do, Ceasefire PA, Bloomberg's groups, Moms Demand Action, we call them Red Shirt Radical Line Commie Mommy Brigade. All they do is advocate for gun control laws that will never stop a single violent criminal, ever, ever. Both of those organizations endorsed Jim Wirtz. That's a reason for concern. Jim Wirtz supports red flag gun confiscation. I'm going to unpack this one for you. Red flag laws are the destruction of due process for gun owners because what they do is they allow anybody to petition a judge to have your gun rights taken away from you without you ever being charged, tried, or convicted of a crime. In fact, the bill that Jim Wirtz supports in the Pennsylvania General Assembly, it says in there that if you've bought a firearm, that can be justification to have a red flag order issued against you and have your guns taken away from you. Seriously, they want to use the exercise of a right as an excuse to take away that same right. It's unbelievable. Jim Wirtz supports that. Very nasty stuff. He also supports statewide gun registration, folks. We believe Obama. We are not Obama. Well, him too. We believe Biden. We believe Kamala Harris. We believe people like Beto O'Rourke when they stand there on the national stage. And in Beto's case, this was back when the Democrats used to actually hold primaries and conventions and stuff to determine who the Democrat candidate was. We believe them when they say that they want to take away our guns. Hell yes, we're going to take away your AR-15s, they said. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris talk about it every day. Ban AR-15s. Statewide gun registration is the cornerstone to gun confiscation. Statewide gun registration allows them to track, trace, and register gun owners like we're some kind of sex offender, all planning for the day where they implement statewide gun confiscation. Jim Wirtz supports it. You don't have to ask me. You can look right on his own website and in his own campaign materials, or you can ask him in person at one of his campaign events. Statewide gun registration is huge for Jim Wirtz. In fact, Jim Wirtz, he wants to ban all semi-automatic firearms. Ask him. This is what he wants to do. He doesn't want to just ban AR-15s or AKs or weapons of war. He wants to ban semi-automatic Remington 1187 shotguns. He wants to ban Ruger 1022 rifles, rimfire rifles. He wants to ban Glock 19s that many of us carry to defend ourselves and our families against violent criminals. Jim Wirtz supports all of that stuff. He supports a total ban on semi-automatic firearms. It's awful, awful, awful stuff. It's what the radical progressive left is moving towards. Here's a nasty one. And of course, we just all saw the video of Kamala Harris coming out on this one. Gun lockups with home inspections. Jim Wirtz likes to talk about this with the terminology of safe storage. Okay, that's the way they phrase it. But Kamala Harris herself was recently outed on video back when she was the district attorney for San Francisco. They want the whole point of safe storage mandatory gun lockup laws is so that once they get it passed, that gives them the authority to knock on your door and invade the sanctity of your home and check to see whether or not you are storing your firearms in a manner that the state has deemed lawful. That's what Jim Wirtz supports. He supports mandatory gun lockups with government gun inspections. It's nasty, tyrannical stuff. And of course, he also supports, I got to put the X chair. He also supports mandatory gun buybacks. This stuff is really nasty. The moment they get gun confiscation codified, there will be an accompaniment bill called mandatory gun buybacks. And of course, Kamala Harris supports this now recently too. And it simply says that the government gets to use your tax dollars to confiscate your guns and give you a paltry amount of money as a replacement for that right to that tool that you use to defend yourself. Jim Wirtz supports all of this, every single piece of it. And so when I sit here, I think to myself, what in the world can somebody like Jim Wirtz be doing supporting this gun control agenda in a place like Senate District 49 in Erie County, Pennsylvania? What is he hoping to achieve? I don't understand it. But then again, I don't understand or agree with a lot of what the radical progressive left is trying to do to America right now. So I'm going to ask you guys to do a couple of things. Number one, if you see Dan Laughlin on the campaign trail, this guy right here, if you see him, tell him thank you. Thank you for voting consistently. Thank you for being unapologetic. Thanks for not buckling on a lot of this other stuff that so many Republicans do today. And I'm talking about you, Pat Toomey. Thank him for that. And a lot of times it's hard for some of these legislators to go out there and do these things, but he did, and he did it without backing down. That's fantastic. If you see Jim Wirtz on the campaign trail, this guy right here, this guy, tell him to apologize for viciously attacking our one right and freedom that protects all of the rest of them. It's unbelievable that people like Jim Wirtz would come out here and try to foist this on the people of Pennsylvania, let alone the people of Senate District 49 in Erie County. That is unconscionable. That kind of stuff goes in California. That kind of stuff goes in Illinois. That kind of stuff goes in New York. But then again, that's exactly what people like Jim Wirtz want to turn Pennsylvania into. And nah, we don't do that here in America. So last but not least, folks, I'm going to ask you to share this video with everybody you know, your friends, your family, your loved ones, your coworkers, your church members. Don't share it with your anti-gun friends. It just throws gas on the fire with these people. But they need to know this very critical information about where these two candidates stand. Like I said at the beginning of this video, so much is on the line. There is so much at stake. The federal elections, the presidential elections, all that stuff is one thing. What happens here in Pennsylvania, it has long-term consequences that I think would be very detrimental to the state if it's allowed to continue. So, folks, share this video with everybody you know. And then on November 5th, head down to your local polls and vote pro-gun.